I always have to pinch myself when I'm on set because I really love making movies. New Mexico is a character. Really fortunate and blessed with our crew. It's like literally like a checklist. Like there, tap, tap, ding. She's a really good actor. Like we had perfect chemistry. And the winner of all those things is good friends.
Hi, everybody. I would like to welcome you back to the podcast. Today, I have with me Paul Greene. Hi, Paul.
Hey, how's it going?
It's great. How are you doing?
Pretty good. In California, my son and wife just popped out for a minute, so I have the house to myself. I don't know what to do with myself, but no, I'm just kidding. Today is a big interview day. You had one just before, and then I'm interviewing my co-star, McKenzie Westmore, on my IG. Today is whatever, the 30th of April. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's great. And you're here because we're going to talk about your new movie on Hallmark. So you want to dig right in?
Great. Yeah, of course. Yeah,
Okay.
thanks.
So you've got a new movie on Hallmark as part of Hallmark's May is for Mom series. The movie is Love in the Clouds. And one of the first things I noticed is that you guys filmed in a pretty unique location, which I imagine is because of the movie itself and what it's about. So can you talk a little bit where you filmed and why you filmed there?
Yeah, so the Love in the Clouds at one point was called Love in the Air. These movies change all the time. I even wrote a song called Love is in the Air for when it was called Love is in the Air, and now it's called Love in the Clouds, and I just kept the name of the song. I wrote the song for the end of the movie, um, which and we filmed in Albuquerque, New Mexico, because of the balloon fiesta that happens there every year, which is I never saw that in person, but from what I've seen of the footage of it and from what the locals there told me, it's one of those things you have to experience. So there's one in Turkey that's really spectacular too, where you see people on their rooftops with these blankets having wine and cheese, and there's a million balloons, and every year it grows, I think.
Yeah.
So Albuquerque is a really kind of special place to film because the production value is so high with the sky and there's like it's the same weather as LA. There's almost no rain. And there's a big tax incentive to shoot there. So their film infrastructure is very advanced because of Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul. And so even our DP had also worked on Breaking Bad. And so this film, it's really special because it looks like a feature film because of the crew that we had was so, top level, and our producer Gayle Walker and our director Larry McLean is just a legend. Plus Lisa Heapner was a writer, and she wrote like a really special, like it was just one of those scripts that when I read it the first time, and is sometimes you just don't have any notes where you're like no questions, or like what is that, doesn't make sense. This one was very buttoned up right on day one of filming. There's very few changes along the way, which is super rare. Uh, and
Yeah.
and then it was just like a really unique experience shooting there. I'd worked there. I don't know if I'd worked there on a movie. I think I'd modeled there like 25 years ago or something. I had been there, but just I even got to see Santa Fe and went to some thrift stores there. But yeah, it's set in New Mexico, and the script talks about New Mexico, and our coffee was the special coffee from a pinon tree, and the peppers, like the hot sauce, was from a local person there, and the dog rescue was a really special one that puts vets with rescue dogs with vets. Uh, and that's in the movie, and it's everything. And then the balloon museum, which is just mind blowing. I knew this much about ballooning and what it is and the history of it, and being at the balloon museum, you understand these people circumnavigating the globe and just going on the air, just going with the around the planet on the wind currents, and they race, and then there's like they go to the bathroom up there, they eat up there, they sleep. It's just wild.
Yeah.
So I really fell in love with. I didn't expect this, but I really fell in love with balloon stuff, which
Mhm.
if you like, I have a pin of a balloon over there. And I have this rip in my jacket. I'm looking for balloon patch to patch it. It's just one of those things that you look at it once you've been around them. And I got to handle them and put them up and take them down. And I never got to go up because of insurance, but it's a real vibe. Like it is a there is a vibe to New Mexico, and it is a really really
Oh yeah.
positive one, a really cool one.
Yeah. I think for me as a viewer, when I was kind of digging in a little bit about the movie, you mentioned Lisa, the writer. She's actually from Albuquerque.
Yeah,
So to
you could
know
tell.
she knows the history of it, I did not know that the Balloon Fiesta, that is the largest festival for hot air balloons in the world. And there's like over 500 of them now every October. That's pretty impressive.
Yeah, yeah, it's a neat culture, man. And the people were really sweet. The food was really uh you know, southwestern and New Mexican, I guess, sort of Mexican, but had its own vibe. Um and every just the whole thing, the whole experience was really great. My family came to visit, like mom on set, my 3 year old, my 21 year old. We had like a little mini Christmas before, because right after that I flew to Asia, and we spent a month in Vietnam and Thailand with my partner Kate, her mom, and then my 3 year old, and we were kind of touring Asia for a month. But to have that experience, yeah, yeah. I mean, I always have to pinch myself when I'm on set because I really love making movies, but this one felt easy to wake up early, and just the air, it was cold, but it was just really special.
That's cool. So your character, Jared, how does he fit in to the whole storyline?
Jaded Jared. So he's I'm a balloon pilot, and and you know, not too open to love, and then she comes to town and they can't find a place, and they're looking to cover the whole balloon fiesta, and she if she gets a good story there, then she has the opportunity to get promoted into a position at her. She's a reporter in back in Seattle, and so it's just and then of course Jared becomes the story in a sense about this, and I give people romantic balloon rides,
Hmm.
but I don't believe in romance because of my past or whatever. And it's really thoughtful. There's a lot of really special callbacks to that. So without, you know, all of these movies follow a very specific, I feel any good rom-com follows a pretty traditional, like all the way back, you know, Love Actually, they all follow this kind of this path. And the joy in these things is how do you get from point A to point B and keep the audience suspending their belief so that they get lost in the story.
Yeah.
And I think that that's what's really special about this movie is because the backdrop and the New Mexico is a character, that it keeps suspending your belief that you're in a rom-com, because and it's just you get taken along on this ride, and there's, you know, our supporting cast was really unique. It's Lorenzo Lamos, which, you know, he was in so many things back in the day, like so many of the movies that I watched or TV shows I watched as a kid.
Falcon Crest.
Yeah, Falcon Crest, and a bunch of other ones too
Yeah.
that I just couldn't believe it when he showed me. I think that's the one that he like was the lead of, but I think he was in Grease.
He was. Yeah.
Yeah, and there was a bunch of other ones where I was Renegade. Renegade was like
Oh yeah.
his show.
Hmm.
Uh, and anyway, just to have him in here was really cool. And Gayle O'Grady, who played my mom, he played my dad, and I had some great conversations with Lorenzo. It was special.
Yeah.
And then of course Mackenzie was on Passions, but she has this really amazing uh, beauty care line, and her family has this wild Hollywood history. The Westmores have like the early special effects and makeup for those early films in the 40s and 50s, maybe even the 30s. But I have 10 questions for her for my podcast today that I'm going to ask
Nice.
her, because they're the most she's maybe the most interesting person in the room, because in terms of her family history and what how creative she is, and she's a really good actor. Like we had perfect chemistry. Um, and so yeah, I forget what your question was, but there's an answer to something.
You covered three or four or five of them, so that's great.
Uh,
So you shared that Jared's a bit jaded in love, and we've got McKenzie who plays Brooklyn, the reporter. What's their initial meeting like? Can you share that?
Yeah,
Is
I
she
think
also
so. I mean,
jaded?
it's very, it's not a meet cute in the sense that we bump into each other, which a lot of these movies are.
Yeah.
But it's a misunderstanding. I don't want to give that part away because that might give away just this little fun bit that people might not see. I mean, they'll see it coming, but
Yeah.
we meet in a funny way where we just in a really smart way, we think we need each other to get something and we end up getting something else from it, which is,
Yeah.
but that's the good layering in the writing that Lisa did that I think is really unique. But any good movie, there each character goes on a hero's journey a bit, right? Like
Mhm.
on a good they start in one place and at the end of the movie if they haven't changed then who cares like that's a boring movie and so I am happy to say that our characters all have a really exciting arc, including including our supporting cast, which was Alexis
Mhm.
and Kopani. They're I hadn't worked with them before, but they did a great job too. They were the other storyline, Brooklyn's good friend in the movie, Elise, and then Kopani was mine. Copan, call him. He was Carlos was my close friend in this too. So it's like four of us going through this adventure. And
Got it.
what was really neat is there's a lot of really early morning, like 4 a.m. Like balloon pilots have to get up at 3:30 and be out on the field by 4 to do a bunch of things so that as the sun's setting, they're up and it's or rising rather. And so that was a fun. That's one of my favorite. I don't like getting up early, but I like being up early.
Yeah.
Uh, and so some of our night shoots were really special. And those ones at the end of the shoot, you feel like camp because you're bonded with everyone trying to stay warm.
Yeah, really.
Yeah.
So you mentioned Lorenzo Lamas and Gayle O'Grady play your mom and dad. There's a picture out there where you're all kind of in some sort of a martial arts stance. It looks like
Yeah.
maybe even he's leading something. Can you talk about that at all?
Yeah. So he for Renegade and for some of his stuff in the 80s, he already knew karate, I think. And
Okay.
so it was written in the script, but and I'm not sure if it was written for him, but it was perfect for him. And he leads us all through it ties into the story in a really unique way for Brooklyn to really start standing up for herself with her boss
Mm.
and and making creating a really powerful kind of boundaries around what she's willing to do, and the karate kind of taught her that. And yeah, and I forget exactly how that part ties in, but it was a really the that scene. Oh my gosh, there's some video. There's a video from behind the scenes of Brooklyn and I, or of Mackenzie and I fighting, like pretend sparring, where this thing where I kept, it's so funny. We were laughing so hard because when it was late at night and we were in a very small area and everyone was kind of losing it a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah. So the movie is part of May is for Moms series. How is that connection with, I mean, Gail O'Grady plays your mom. Is that part of the story as well?
Yeah, I mean, Maze for Moms isn't something that I was familiar to be honest. I'm not sure when they started this tradition, but um, maybe it just means they're just doing good movies for moms so that
There's a mom in it.
let's give moms, here's another good movie for moms. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's not like a mom focused script,
Okay.
although in the movie, my mom and I have a really great connection and relationship, as well as does there's a really beautiful scene where Mackenzie and Gail have a really sweet moment, and they tackle some great things. So yeah, every mom or mom's mom is gonna really like this. And I know there's dads out there that pretend not to, but they're gonna love it too.
Absolutely. And it's airing Mother's Day weekend. So
That's why.
we'll
That's
call
why May. That's why May is for moms.
that's
That's
what we'll
why.
call it. So I imagine, and you shared you didn't actually go up in the air, but I imagine there had to be some fun or some challenging moments when you're dealing with, hot air balloons and the location. Anything fun, or behind
Yeah.
the scenes that you could share?
Yeah, I have my pilot's license, but for single engine land, I grew up in aviation with my family. Like my dad and there's 14 pilots total in our family. But not balloons, these are fixed wing aircraft. So I was excited to fly one. I was like, because I've flown a helicopter before, um, and 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 I've flown myself across country, and I have a lot of experience flying, but never in a balloon. And my dad passed 12 years ago, so I haven't flown that much since he passed. It's a real big connection to
I
my
bet.
dad. The And so there's this really beautiful jacket that I'm wearing, and there's like some pins on there, and I kind of connected to my dad through them in a way because he had an aviation jacket, and my character doesn't really take this thing off through most of the movie, and that was kind of fun, and I brought some of that wardrobe, and I had some real connection to it at least in my preparation with my dad. And there was this one day though that the wind was picking up, and the real balloonist who owned our balloon and helped produce the movie, because he gave us he I was asking his advice like all day long on how to handle his balloon so I looked like a real balloonist. Because when I'm in it flying it, even though we're on the ground and using green screen and using all the tricks that movie magic is, I was like, what would I be doing here? And I kept asking. And so I had this whole dance of like reach down to turn the gauge, tap the gauge with my ring to make sure that the gauge was working, and then look up, and then I'd look over the side to look down on the ground, look up one more time, and then and it's like literally like a checklist, like there, that tap tap ding, look, and I so while delivering all this
Yeah,
dialogue,
yeah.
that part was crazy. But the guy, I'm just blanking on his name, unfortunately. It was his balloon. At least he was in charge of the balloon, and the wind picked up. And I decided to help him because he looked like he was struggling to hold the balloon. And what I didn't realize is like when the wind actually blows, there's a truck couldn't hold the balloon. And
Oh, okay.
so I'm filming him. I actually have it on my camera, and I realize he's struggling. So I put the phone in my pocket without shutting it off. I grab onto the back of him. This insurance would have hated this, and the balloon's like pulling, the wind's pulling, and it just picked up. And I grabbed him like a bear hug, and all of a sudden we're both being dragged towards where the trucks are. And fortunately, a bunch of other crew came, but like him and I got just tossed. And I have it on my camera. You can hear us like, oh, and we're rope burned, and he got bruised,
Oh
and we kneed each
no.
other, and then kneed each other in the shoulder. It was crazy. That was like a kind of behind the scenes thing that happened. That was just I couldn't believe the power of the wind on that
Yeah,
balloon gave
yeah.
me. And did you know that you can't steer them? So
Oh, and the wind, I
when you
guess.
go up,
Yeah,
you're in the wind.
yeah.
So this is another surprising thing. You don't hear anything.
Oh, wow.
It's not loud because you are the wind. Like you're the wind is you. You're not. It's not windy. Like your hair wouldn't move. Your hair doesn't move, which you would think
You
it would
would
just be
think.
blowing
Yeah,
a gale up there,
yeah.
but it's not. But you can hear like 5 miles away a dog barking, which is really bizarre.
Wow.
Yeah, that's these are stories I didn't, like I said, I didn't get to I didn't get to go up this time. I've been up before in my life, but not there, and I really want to experience it there.
Yeah, yeah. That's fascinating. Yeah, you'd think being up in the air that you'd be taking all of that in, but it's always interesting, when you're out in nature and depending on what hill you're on or whatever, you may hear something that's 5 feet away that sounds like it's just weird how all of that works. It's fascinating.
Yeah,
Let's talk
yeah.
a little bit about your song. I know you mentioned that earlier on, but I noticed it yesterday on Spotify. Can you talk a little bit about writing that song and incorporating it into the movie?
Yeah, so funny thing, the director, Galen Walker, he was in some really big bands. Sorry, not the director, the producer. Galen. He was in some really big bands in the 90s and the 2000s, and then he produced like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles for like TMT Forward. He's like a big now he's a big film producer, but he was also in some big rock bands as a guitar player, and he's a great singer too. And then when he found out I was a singer songwriter, when I came down there, he's like, "Would you want to sing Love is in the Air?" So I actually re-recorded Love is in the Air,
Yeah.
that song. And
Yeah.
we had some behind the scenes with us, all the crew, everyone singing that. And then we got the kibosh that that song is in a lawsuit and we couldn't use that song.
Can't do that.
So I said to Galen, I'm like, let's write one. And and there's a few moments where we were on set. I would bring my guitar and I was like, this is what I'm thinking. And I came up with kind of the structure, and he came up with some cool bits and harmony bits, and we cut the lyrics together. And then I came back to LA and I made it with a production team, or like some really great musicians that I know here, that we made it in this room here, but put it together and then and sent it to Hallmark, and they liked it, and so it's in the movie.
That's awesome. That's great. Well, we'll definitely be listening for it.
Yeah, it'll be right at the very end.
Okay.
And yeah, I'm really proud of it. It's really, and there's lines from the movie in the song.
Yeah. I listened to it yesterday and there, I like how when it gets kind of to the chorus, there's a little bit of a beat that comes to it.
Yeah,
I liked it. Digged it. I digged it.
I'm glad. I'm glad. And yeah, there's one of the lyrics, like "In the Wind with You" is one of the lyrics, because her character asked me, why is it so quiet? And I was like, because we're in the wind.
Yeah.
And then so one of the lyrics in the song is "In the wind with you above the earth." Um, and time slows down with you is another line from the movie. So I have about five actual lines from the script that are in the song.
Oh, cool. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So, do you have a favorite part of the movie or maybe like an Easter egg that you can actually share that we should be looking for?
I think the kiss is really special because they shot it slow motion, and I had such bad food poisoning that I thought that I wasn't going to be able to work
Oh my God.
on that day. So I showed up just feeling like a bag of dirt. And so, so much so that I had like an IV brought to like rehydrate me. And then I said to Bruce, I was like, I'm 99% sure this is food poisoning, because the night before I'd had something in the middle of the night. I woke up a few times and I was like, uh-oh. And I had last time I had food poisoning was Thailand 27 years ago. And and this wasn't that bad. This was like very mild. Would have been a bacteria of some kind from a restaurant we ate at.
Yeah.
And I had to tell Mackenzie that, hey, I'm we have to make out, and I feel like I have to tell you that I'm sick. But
Yeah.
so it looks great, and she was such a trooper, but still, I was just like, I in the 1% chance that this isn't food poisoning, here I am kissing our, the my co-star, and then what if both of us are taken out?
Yeah.
And we couldn't delay it, the kiss,
No.
because it was at the airport, and they had rented the airport just that one day, and it was like the airport of Albuquerque. So it's not like we could just go, let's come back tomorrow. It's just like
Yeah.
not possible.
You
So
just keep
for
going, right?
what's that?
You just keep going.
Yeah, the show must go on, but
Mhm.
so it looks very good, but inside it was like a twisted, like my stomach was twisting and I was laying down and weak and looking for something to lean on. But it's that's a very funny kind of Easter egg, and it was right at the beginning of the movie too. So I was like, oh my goodness, how is this happening?
Yeah, really. Wow.
Yeah.
Um, so I understand you've got a watch party going on for this movie. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, I've never done one before, but it sort of came to me. I don't know how it came to me. I think it was my idea, or I don't even know where the term came. Maybe it was some, it could be if someone else that's watching this, it was your idea and you told me, sorry, but I somehow it came up. I don't know where it came from. But I it could have been from Ruth or Bettina, but I had this idea that I wanted to do a concert. That's how it came. As I was talking about a concert with the song and having like a little thing about the music, and because I was supposed to perform live at Christmas Con at a bar.
Oh,
in New Jersey. Um, and a bunch of people bought tickets to it. And then I got the movie Love in the Clouds. And so I promised them, and some of them got, I was like, you can get a refund, but if you don't want a refund, we can apply that towards something else. And I was like, we're going to do a big party for everyone and a watch party and a concert and then a Q&A and a t-shirt and a signed poster. And so, and for those people that didn't get their money back, I also doing a personalized video for them, like directly to them. So it's the idea is so all of us as fans that like movies, it will give the viewer a total like inside the actor studio, behind the scenes, because I'm going to play the song, but also a bunch of other songs leading up to it on Zoom. But then what on people are going to stream or watch on Hallmark or Friendly, however they watch it. Um, and I'm going to go watch it with my family, but then pop in to
hmm
the room on Zoom's going to stay open. And then on those commercial breaks, I'm going to share about the scenes they just saw.
cool.
And then afterwards, Mackenzie's going to come on and we're going to do a take questions from the folks on Zoom.
Uh-huh.
And then everybody gets a shirt, a t-shirt with my album cover Love in the Air, which is really beautiful. Bettina made, it's got these balloons, like a balloon, and my son took the photo on there, and then my PG logo, and then a signed poster of the movie poster from both Mackenzie and myself. So it's like it's a really it's 4 hours
Yeah.
of a if somebody is watching and they love these movies, but they want to find out sort of how they're made without um and still keeping the magic of it. So it's gonna be that like a live podcast, a live Q&A, but sort of from the audience and the folks. It's a bit of a fan experience, I guess.
That's pretty cool. So that's starting an hour before the movie and then going an hour after the movie.
Yep, yep. So it's 4 o'clock Pacific. And then when you get a ticket, you get a shirt and the poster and access to the Zoom. And then just to be super clever, we're not streaming the movie on Zoom. People will have to find a way to watch it, hopefully in whatever country they're in. And if not, they can hang out and then watch it later if they want to. But it's going to be a cool event. And then after the movie, yeah, it should be about an hour after for the Q&A, depending on how long or short. I things don't normally go shorter for me. That my I've done 1,000 of these live stream concerts, and I think they average 2 hours long. My concerts.
So
Uh,
speaking of that, I
yeah,
was one thing that I think is really cool about your social media presence, like your Instagram bio is I make real music for the soul, star in movies, and I help you feel better in your body. And so one of the things that I notice often on your Instagram account is there's a lot of opportunities throughout the week where you're sharing your music and playing. Can you talk a little bit about those different times that people can like pop in on your accounts and check that out?
sure. Thank you. Instagram's something's happened on Instagram where obviously during the pandemic there would be 500 people on these concerts because everybody was stuck at home. And of the people that are live, when I go live, I can see how many are actually live of my followers, and it's a really small amount. Like I have a lot of followers, but then when you look, it's like 800 are live right now or are on the thing, which is good. I mean, hopefully people are outside walking or being with their family.
Yeah.
And so I usually go live Friday nights on Instagram right at 5, but only for about 4 or 5 songs. And then I jump over to TikTok for about 5 or 6 songs. And then I go private to my Patreon community, which is something that again developed, and they come on Zoom and they're like in my studio with me. So they watch me set up. They ask me questions. I get to know them because I see them all. And so then when I have a concert, I actually have a screen of everyone's face on my big screen.
Oh, okay. All right.
So I get to know my Patreon, but
Yeah.
then I'm live on social through a camera like this, but also my Instagram and TikTok.
hmm
But a feed like this is going to YouTube, X, Facebook, and Twitch, all at the same time through a really big mixer. So it sounds like a CD, like a regular album sound, like a studio sound. But it happened during pandemic because everyone was stuck at home, and
Yeah.
I originally Hallmark asked me to do a 30-minute concert once before one of my episodes of When Calls a Heart. And 5,000 people watched that live.
Wow.
Right now, it's there on Facebook. It has a 500,000 views, just
Yeah.
that one video on Hallmark's on their channel. Just
Wow.
that's just Facebook, not YouTube, none of the other things.
That's crazy.
And so I enjoyed it so much that I was like, we were at our cabin and and I love playing music. So I just started going live and I got a schedule and then I would go live 3 times a week. And so I I've done about 1,000, maybe 1,100 since 2019. And there's I have a couple fans that have been to everyone. Like Tracy Spalding has been to every single one.
Ah, Tracy.
And yeah, hi Tracy. And then Charlene and Timmy, there's a bunch, and Ruth, there's a bunch that have been to most of them, I'd say. But Tracy also saw one of my first things I did with Tatum O'Neill called Wicked Games, which is the series that kind of got me into acting.
Uh-huh.
So what's unique about it is on Sundays it was like a gospel thing, so people who couldn't go to church, they would have a place to gather. And then I just fell in love with performing and telling stories and getting to know my fans. And I use a looping pedal so I can create elaborate layers of music. And so I harmonize, I add a steel guitar, piano, like, and it's all happening in real time. And then I take requests. So but I keep writing my own stuff and trying it out with my fans on there. And so,
Yeah.
and people are generous with tips and then the Patreon community. And it's not like feed my family living, but it's from music. It's actually a form of income that allows me to reinvest into gear for my studio or, um, to actually to give, it's a really unique kind of a way. I don't have to go on the road away from my
Yeah.
kids, my children, or my wife, and I can be in the studio for an hour and a half or 2 hours and make a little bit of tips, but also get to like really connect with my fan base.
Yeah.
And it's special, man. Like some of the Sunday ones, like they're this very spiritual experience where I sometimes get lost in the music and people tell me they get really connected to God, which is often my intention with
Mm-hmm.
the especially those Sunday concerts. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it's awesome, man. I love it.
Yeah, it's fun to just kind of sit back and listen to people, we'll put in a request and I appreciate the interactiveness where, you're playing and sharing, but you're also engaging with the people out there. So it's almost like if they can't be somewhere, in a service on a Sunday, that it still feels like they're connecting with people too. So
Yeah, I think that's that part for sure. And so I don't only play gospel on Sundays. I sometimes throw in a U2 song or I don't know, some of my own stuff. But
yeah.
I often do mostly my own stuff on Sundays plus some old gospel stuff. But it's a joy for me. It connects me to my dad again and
Mm.
some of that old gospel music that means a lot to me. And in my 20s, all I did was write love songs to God. And so a lot of those have kind of come back around in a different way. And I've reinvented some of those old songs and I get to play those, which is because like music or acting or the arts of any kind only exist because there's people that show up to enjoy it.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, and so it's a fan first medium. Like the fans come first for us in film and in music because without them, there's nothing gets made unless people watch it or listen to it or share it or like it or engage with it or comment on it. So it's really I'm very aware of the relationship with the fans with this stuff.
The other thing that I really enjoy about your account is your commitment to the wellness side of things. I'm going to put you on a spot. If I were to say, what's something today you could give all of us as a wellness tip? What's fresh in your mind right now?
I love that. Thank you. I love that question. You're asking the best questions. So, there's the goal for everybody should be to shift their expectation that as you get old, things get worse. So it's our health and our well-being and our fitness, our bodies is the only area that we expect it to get worse. If you're practicing the guitar, you expect to get better. If you're in your marriage or you're with your relationships, you expect to get better at handling, whatever that is that you go through. Every other art form or practice, you expect as you get older to get more wisdom, better. But our bodies, for some reason, there's this global agreement that as we age, we're headed towards that last decade being in some nursing home with dementia, not being able to walk or remember our kids' names. And that's unfortunately people's fear, but it's also a reality. And so my one of my passions is having people create a vision or a future that they actually want to live into.
Mhm.
Because if without a vision, you can't really create really well. And if you imagine yourself as an old person in that last decade in a nursing home, that's where you're headed. But if you imagine yourself swimming out in the ocean, getting eaten by a shark or something at 95, that's how I want to go. But so it's just, I guess a part of it is, you know, developing your grip strength. So that means lifting weights of some kind or bands or something, so that as people get into that seventh or eighth decade, if they fall, they can catch themselves. That's the number one thing determining health span is how your grip strength. So working on muscle building, but then the foundation is sleep, water, walking, eating real food, and good friends. So
Mhm.
you and the winner of all those things is good friends, like having a good social network or a highly functioning something bigger than yourself to wake up for in the morning, like good community. But if you prioritize sleep and drinking, a good amount of really good water and moving your body every single day and throw away all your packaged crap food and just eat real food, those are the foundations. So eating real food, walking, water, sleep, and good friends. If you find no pill or supplement or protein or vitamin can beat like a good night's sleep. Nothing.
Mhm.
There's
Yeah.
nothing that can do what that balances your hormones. It resets your metabolism. It gives you a better mood. It everything. It heals your skin. Everything. But so many people barely fall asleep at 11, 12 while they're watching TV or something, and then they are sleeping next to their Wi-Fi router or something and getting smashed with EMFs or their cell phone under their pillow. And I wear a Whoop thing that I sort of track my heart rate variability, which is like the some of the space between your heartbeats and they measure your recovery,
Mhm.
and it tells you if you're in fight or flight or rest and digest. And so having some ways to move you into a place of rest and digest rather than being in fight or flight, because with the news constantly hitting us, we're always in fight or flight, like a tiger's chasing us. Our
Mhm.
grandparents didn't have a couple hundred pieces of information coming at them in a month, and we have like 20,000 pieces of information in an hour, and our bodies can't handle it. And
Yeah.
so people get symptoms of all sorts of anxiety and depression and different disorders and chronic illness, partly because of um, that heightened level of anxiety and fear, and the body being in a fight or flight response. And so having a way to move you out of that, for me, it's walking or meditation or yoga or something, just to take some deep breaths. And I have a way of measuring it that says like, hey, your recovery is in the toilet. And there's like, you set goals for yourself to kind of measure it. And that's where, technology is pretty fun to be able to see it on a screen. Is like, this is my body. This is how my resting heart rate. This is my blood pressure. Like, it's so cool I'm a huge fan of using tech for that kind of thing. But
Yeah.
I'm glad you asked. That's kind of I always tell people, I just sleep. If you can just
So
find a
simple.
way to get to bed by 10, 10:30, 11 at the absolute latest, but then sleep 8, 9 hours, 7 to 9 hours is the golden thing. But the most important thing is getting to bed about the same time and getting up at about the same time. And then first thing in the morning, get outside, like get sun in your eyes, get vitamin D
Get
in
it
your
going.
eyes.
Get those circadian rhythms going, right?
That's it. That's it. But like nothing, all the fancy, you could spend thousands of dollars on supplements and they would do nothing if you were getting a trashy sleep
Yeah.
and if you're dehydrated. But like, yeah, so that's sort of where we start. Once people get those basics down, then they can make change and release weight so fast.
Lots of good advice.
Yeah, it's not one thing, is it?
It's okay. That's awesome. Another thing that I find interesting about social media accounts is each person's social media account, they get to draw that boundary. And I find it fascinating that for you, that includes sharing about your relationship with Austin. Like we get to see some really sweet moments, and you've consciously made that decision to share some of those moments. Why
Mhm.
is that important to you?
Oh man. Partly so that I can go back through them and watch them and see, and like, because my phone, I take so many videos and so that, and so many pictures that, you know, I tried this membership to chat books or something that sends me these little books every month, and I just can never, I've only got a few of them because I can never remember to upload them on there. Mostly because my social media has been so overwhelmingly positive. I've never had creepers. I've never had haters. I've never, and like knock on wood, my my relation there, I have zero. I mean, not zero, but next to zero, as close to zero folks that I've had to block. And the ones I've had to block was literally just for tone and vibe. It wasn't dangerous. I just was like, I don't like what's going on there, and I have that opportunity to block somebody if they're kind of stinking out the car. Like they're not there. There's a vibe to my social media, I guess. Uh, and because I have chosen to believe that I live in a friendly world, not a hostile world. And that's just a choice. And I think Einstein said the most important decision you'll ever make is, do you live in a hostile universe or a friendly one? And I might be wrong. It might be a little hostile, and if depend where you live or your circumstance, but everyone has their own hero's journey, and they go through different seasons where life feels probably very unsafe.
Mhm.
And I don't live in just this bubble where everything is awesome all the time. I do live in the real world, but I choose to constantly hope for the best in people, expect the best from people. And if they prove me wrong, I don't like delete my Instagram because one or two people have decided that they don't know how to have a boundary, or they have a bad day, or they're hurting for attention or whatever. So I think overwhelmingly, because my fans are so amazing, I don't have that feeling of like, no, 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 I got to protect what's mine, because I have never had the experience of dealing with somebody who's crossed the boundary, except for a couple little things that weren't that big.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it on this side of it, there's a lot of joy, there's a lot of positivity in your account, and it fits nicely with the music that you share, with, the wellness tips that you provide. It's a good place to go just to feel good for a little bit and check things out. So it makes sense that you're sharing those moments as well. So,
I think so too. Thank you. Yeah, but I understand why some people don't. And some people are like, you don't have your kids' permission to post pictures of them, and I get that too.
yeah,
And I don't judge. This is just my decision,
yeah.
and I'm not saying that I know for sure that it's the right one, but I just believe in being true to whatever's happening in the moment, and I my intention is to make the world a better place. And so if I know my heart and my intention, and so if someday that comes back to bite me, then I'll just learn from it and I'll just course correct. But I think for now, plus he loves doing little fun things. And my older son now, is as well. Really, he's 21 and he's out in the world, and I look back at some of those old posts that I have of him, and they just like make me so happy to like see him 10 years ago. I started posting on Instagram in 2012, I think.
Wow. That's pretty cool. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, thanks so much for chatting with me today. Bringing it back to your movie that's going to be on Hallmark. Do you remember the details? Can I share the details? Do you remember when it's coming?
Yeah. Please share the details. I know that it's May 10th, 5 o'clock Pacific. So that's like 8 Central. Oh, no, 8 East,
8,
7, 8.
7 Central. You got it. Yeah. On Hallmark, May 10th. And then we'll also be able to watch it the next day on Hallmark Plus as well.
Oh,
So,
awesome. Yeah. Yeah. And May is for moms. And that's the next day. The next day is Mother's
it's
Day,
Mother's
right?
Day. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Great
Yeah.
weekend for a
I
feel good
think
movie.
the good feel good movie. It's so beautiful. There's so the scenery and the bang for the like the cinematography. And like I said, our team was the A team, like from Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul. So we got really fortunate and blessed with our crew and our team. And Galen Walker, the producer, is just a legend. So and our director Larry, just so cool.
That's exciting. Well, we're looking forward to seeing it.
Yeah, I can't wait for people to see it too.
All right. Well, thanks so much. I appreciate it.
You got it. Thanks, Stephanie. Bye, everybody.
Bye bye.